All right. Am I broadcasting yet? Let me fix my sound. There we go. All right. Okay, so some of you were with me just a few minutes ago in Daily Art Adventure number 535. And now we're all the way up to 536 because some of my wonderful viewers helped me discern a mistake in this painting. And it is that this car is a little bit too small. Darn. And I really like it too. And I was just going to fix it all by myself. And I thought, dang it, no. I'm going to make somebody suffer with me through this. So, and plus, more than that, obviously, more seriously, I'm missing an opportunity for a real teaching moment. So I decided to go ahead and broadcast. I have a video very similar to this one that I did some months ago. I think you could find it if you looked up fixing a mistake in portraits or portraiture, fixing a portrait mistake, something like that. And it's not dissimilar to what I'm going to do here. But that's that. This is this. Now, I'm going to zoom right in here and let you see the infraction, the offending culprit. Is this car, beautiful though it is just a little too small. Now, this raises a very particular problem if if I were doing tight super realism. It would be a lot easier to fix the car. Now, it might take longer, but it would be easy. But because I'm not doing super tight realism, that means because this vehicle, this car, this painting is, of course, the result of roughly 12 layers of paint. And that's just an estimate. That's typically how many layers one of my paintings has. Excuse me, I'm still fighting just the very end of a cold. Okay, so what do? Well, I actually used this tool just a few minutes ago. So here's an X-Acto knife with a curved blade. That's really important because if you try to use a blade like this or a blade like this, the ubiquitous number 11, you're going to be in danger of cutting scars in your canvas. So the round blade, really good. So the first thing I'm going to do is see if there's any, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the back of the car and the top. This part I'm going to leave alone. I'm going to redo the bottom. In other words, I'm going to make it bigger by making it grow downwards, if you catch my drift. And then it needs to go forward, because if I just go straight down, it'll be too squatty. So it needs to go this way. But this is fortunately, the part that I like the most is the back. I'm going to leave that. So the first thing I want to do is see if there's any piles of paint, if there's any impasto, because I want to scrape those off. And if I can do it without getting down to white gesso, that would be ideal. So there are little bits here. And of course, some of the impasto might be all the way back in the acrylic stage, in which case, if I scrape that off, it's going to go to white. So far, though, you see I'm getting a little bit of white there, but I don't think it's anything I can't deal with. So somebody out there, hopefully, needs to see this. Oh, and my watch, which is running a little bit fast, let's say I started this repair project at 5:50. One of the things I would like to model for myself and for you is that this kind of repair job doesn't need to take as long as you might think. Especially if you already have an image that is close. That is, that the drawing of the car was nice. It was just improper scale. So that means I don't have to redraw the whole thing. I can use my erroneous marks, if you will, as points, as jumping off points, as reference points for my correction, my correct lines. Does that make sense? So it's not like I need to draw this car from scratch. So the challenge is, how do you make corrections in this, what I call, abstract realism style of painting? By the way, that name, that description came, for me, it came from David Leffel. Now, he might have gotten it from somebody else. You can just Leffel. Fantastic painter, famous, rich painter. And he called his stuff abstract realism, and I heard him many years ago now, and I said, bingo, that's it. That's much more appropriate than impressionism or impressionistic. I don't call it impressionism, but I did call my stuff impressionistic. Okay, so I'm hoping you understand why I need to scrape off some. I don't have to be perfect, but if there's any bumps, because I want to be able to work, I don't want those bumps to show through. All right, first thing then, after scraping, and I will gladly, let me take a glance at your chat. Nicholas is back. And D. Williams, new painter. Here, let me back up just for a second. And for those of you who maybe weren't with me a little while ago. So here's my painting. I'm going to be very happy with it. I'm quite happy with it. It's a fairly well-known historic hotel about an hour's drive from here in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, called the Carolina Inn. And my wife and I went over there last Sunday. They had a bridal expo at the Carolina Inn. And I asked for permission to set up outside in their parking lot driveway and paint. I said, so I'm giving this painting to the hotel for free. And in exchange, they let me hand out, promotional materials and business cards to the brides who were coming to their show. And participating in those shows is not an inexpensive proposition. So I'm quite happy with the bargain that I've made there. So I'll give this painting to them. Of course, hopefully they'll use it. Hopefully they'll hang it somewhere fairly prominent. Hopefully they'll be proud of it. Okay, so now I'm going to just do a real quick glaze to, at least I should have used a bigger brush than this, but I'm just going to stick with it, to cover up all the little white stuff that I just produced by scraping the canvas. Okay, so just real quickly. And once again, the medium that I'm using is the same medium that I always use, liquid. And I think that especially for those of you who won't be able to stick with me for this entire, hopefully short video, I want to give you the number one principle that I'm going to be stressing anytime. Of course, please understand, this is the first time I've ever needed to make a correction. I hope you recognize sarcasm when you hear it. Oh, this is the first time I've ever had to correct a painting. No. This is not the first time. So the main overriding principle that I want to emphasize, especially for those of you who have to leave early, is don't try to cover everything up. Don't try to cover up your mistakes, because if you do, you'll be painting way too heavy-handed, and the correction will scream out as if I took a sticker and stuck a picture of a car on this painting. We can't have that. It has to fit in with the whole thing. So the main way to do that, of course, is to allow layers to show through underneath. So now that I've got all this dark stuff over here, I think, there are many ways to do this. I think I'm going to go straight now to a medium bluish gray, which is the color that this car was. Here's the photograph from which I'm working. And I'm going to do some plain old-fashioned drawing, in this case redrawing, right? So I'm going to want the front of the car to come forward. So I'm moving it about, oh, 3/8 of an inch. And here, see, I can still barely see where my old line was. Do you see? So that means that the corrections I'm making right now aren't that difficult because I can use my old marks as guidelines. I hope that that makes sense to you. And then this part needs to come down a little bit further. So once again, I'm going to be bringing I think I can leave the tail light where it is. I like my automobiles in my paintings to be believable. I don't really want to invite car enthusiasts to start recognizing or getting enthused even about, oh, that's a 19, or, I mean, my age just showed up. Oh, that's a 2011, something, 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 or 2014. I don't want that degree of realism necessarily. I don't want people getting stuck on cars, but I do want them quite believable. So that's the balance that I'm aiming for. Now I'm driving myself crazy by painting with one hand. So the good news is an alarm bell goes off inside me if I start painting with my right hand too much. And that alarm tells me to get my other hand engaged. Normally I paint, of course, with two hands at the same time. I guess I'll start doing that now. So before I commit myself to this redrawing, let me step back and say, have I made the car sufficiently larger? The answer is not quite. The front of the windshield, the angle of the windshield needs to come forward a little bit, and then if that does, then the front of the car needs to come forward. And now I'm going to remove the mistake that I just made a minute ago, but not in a fussy, fastidious, perfectionistic manner. Allow everything to continue to show through. Even the corrections, of my corrections, correcting my corrections, even those marks, I don't want to obliterate them. And I think really, I've talked about this before, that impulse to hide your mistakes is a very bad impulse. It comes out of embarrassment and shame. Folks, no shame needed. It's just, we're all human beings here. We all screw up. And frankly, I know that when people look at this painting, when it's all finished, nobody will look at it and say, "Oh, I see. He had to fix that car." They won't do that. But at the same time, I'm not going to try to obliterate my mistakes. Am I making sense? And by that, very precisely what I mean is I'm not going to do too much opaque painting. Because if I did too much opaque painting, the car wouldn't fit in with the overall painting. Nope, and that's wrong. Yay, glad to see that it's wrong. This whole wheel needs to move forward. So how am I going to fix that? I'm just going to wipe that off in a very loose manner, not tight, and then redarken it and draw it again. So all the marks that I make have to fit in with the style of the entire painting. Does that make sense? Even the correcting marks, the fixes that I'm doing right now. That's better. I'm sitting back and looking from a distance. Oh, Tane and Natalie, why did I decide that I needed to fix it? Well, if you were to go back and watch Daily Art Adventure number 535, you, you will get the answer to that question. It's because my dear chat followers, not without my instigation, of course, I said, "Do you guys see anything wrong?" And a couple of them said, "Well, isn't that car a little small?" So that's why I decided to fix it. Because after they said that, I looked at it with fresh eyes and went, "Doggone it. It is a little small. Dang." Just like that, it cussed up a storm. My mother would not approve. I hope my mom doesn't watch these. No, that's not true. I hope she does. But she doesn't normally. Sitting back again. Let's compare it to the people. Yeah, that's better. So I've made this car, I don't know, about half an inch taller than it was, and I discovered it was easier to move the bottom down than it would be to move the top up. So that explains a lot of it. So that's why I decided to fix it, because my dear followers, viewers, caught me screwing up. That's just what it comes down to. Now, I think I might be able to make this window come down just a little bit. Okay, and I say this all the time, but I'll go ahead and say it again. You get dark with transparent colors, like a watercolorist, and you get light with opaque colors. In other words, you add white to stuff to make it opaque and to get it light. But if you ever want to make something darker, it's important to do that with transparent colors. I need another brush here. And for my darks here, I'm using ultramarine and oxide red. Sometimes if I want it darker, a little phthalo and dioxazine purple. That's just about as black as you can get. There we go. And I'm using liquid with that dark mix so that it's transparent. Okay, so after having done a layer of dark and then a layer of light, I find I need more dark again. So this is my second application of dark. Another way to describe this correction process, when you're making a correction, it's very easy. Be careful about this. Very easy to get fixated on the object that you're correcting and sort of lose sight of how it fits in with the overall painting. So that's why I'm sitting back and saying, does it still look like it is in the same style, the same hand, the same brush stroke, the same treatment as the rest of the painting? And happily, yes, I think it does. I think it does. So I feel like I'm making good progress here. I've been working on it for 16 minutes, the correction, and it's nearly all corrected. Do just a little bit. Now I'm retouching things that I, didn't need to touch. Now let's do some hubcap stuff. Well, not hubcaps anymore, are they? I'm showing my age. Wheel covers, or whatever they call them. Wheels. Back when I was a kid, we used to have hubcaps. So still, the old language comes out once in a while. And I'm afraid that I'm losing power on my phone. So hang on, we might get a little bit of noise here. It looks like I need to, yes indeed. again. Too much drawing with my right hand, I start getting irritated. Isn't that funny? Which usually means also that I'm getting too tight. If I paint too much with my dominant hand, I'm probably painting poorly. Are we still broadcasting? I believe I am. Let me look at some of the other comments. Oh, D. Williams, you bring up a great point. D says, I'm never satisfied with my work. Oh, please watch me often, would you? I talk about that so often that almost everybody struggles with that. And it is one of the most deadly, that sense of inadequacy kills creativity, kills confidence. You're not a better painter because you despise your work. You're a worse painter. So in other words, try to get rid of the despising. You will be a better painter simply by not looking down or despising your work. Simply being positive. It's one of the classic examples of the power of positive thinking. Be kind to yourself, and you will paint better. Yeah, I talk about that a lot. I try to encourage positive self-talk in my broadcasting often. Now, let me tell you something that all of this that I'm doing right now, all of this rather fastidious, my favorite word for it, fussy, accurate, realistic, careful drawing kind of stuff that you see me doing right now. It's all too much. It's all too tight, okay? And I'm going to do, I can feel that. I know that's what's happening. But I want to get these details correct. So I'm going to show you in a few minutes what to do about that. After you have drawn for a season, after you've drawn in too tight a manner, basically you come back and intentionally mess up that which you've just painted too tightly. And I'm definitely going to do that, and I'll definitely show you how in just a few minutes. It's a I call it a legal trick. It's a bit of a trick, but I believe it's legal. You can do this. It's basically, I'm going to put my finger inside a rag, and I'm going to scribble in a very spontaneous manner. I'm going to scribble all over the car, the drawing. It has to be done quickly. You cannot do it slowly. If you do it slowly, it won't work. It will look terrible. I'm doing some of it right now with my brush, just skittering across that image. I have now, for some reason, I have no monitor going, so I think I don't have an audio monitor, I should say. So I hope everything is going well. I think it is. Okay. So here we go. I wanted to get this accurate, but now it's too tight. So I've got a finger in a rag, and I need to do this in a free and loose and carefree manner. I can't go in and try to fake it, pretend I'm carefree and loose. I actually need to be loose. I'm going to put 2 fingers in, I think. There we go. Okay, so the rag is just dry. Okay. And because I don't have a control, tell you what, I'm going to take a quick break and come back because I've lost my control of my camera. So hang on just a second. Let me escape out of here and then come back to you guys. My phone is stuck in a twilight zone. Hang on. Hey, D. Williams, thanks for joining us, man. Appreciate it. All right, I don't know if I'm broadcasting yet or not. I believe I am. Thank you. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. I had to reboot my camera and reboot the app. Okay, so you can see the mess that I made here. Let me zoom in. You can see the mess that I made just by running my fingers with a rag through it. So it's better. But just because I make these messy marks, of course, doesn't mean I need to stay with them. If in my haste, and that's the only way to do it is hastily, by the way, but in the haste, if you make some marks that you don't like, that you don't care for, then of course you have the freedom, of course, to come back and modify yet again. But that little trick of draw carefully and then if necessary, I use this trick in particular when I'm doing figures, people in my paintings on, of pedestrians like walking on down the street. That's when I will use this trick the most. I don't think I'll be able to scrape that. So let me do a line right here. There we go. So even though I did, in fact, draw this car in an over fastidious manner, over fussy, over tight, over precise, and so forth, I believe it is not coming across now that I'm finished. It's not coming across in an overly tight, it's not coming across as too tight. It is quite a trick to be able to do that. Like, I was reading your chats while I was rebooting my camera and somebody said, more cussing. Thank you. And it turns out I am moving the tail light down just a little bit. There. I will. There's a mark there I don't care much for. One of my scrub marks I don't care much for. See, so you can remove the ones you don't like, cover them up, repaint, whatever you need to do. And my phone's about to die again, so sorry, I need to plug in power. That's what got me into trouble last time. All right, I'm going to stop that. So basically it took me 25 minutes plus a technical issue with the camera. But basically it took me 25 minutes to make some corrections to that car. It doesn't mean that I won't come back tomorrow or tonight or whenever I continue and make yet more corrections. That is possible. It doesn't mean that I'm done. But 25 minutes for a correction of that magnitude is, I think, not too bad. Do you agree with me? And that I say that partly to help myself not to get terribly upset when I have to make a correction. Usually, our emotional dismay is an over-exaggeration. Like it's sort of like I'm saying to myself, come on, it's not that bad. It'll take 25 minutes. In the course of a painting, 25 minutes is not that long a time. So my car is, I think, big enough, and the people are okay. I'm going to stop there. I don't know if I'll be doing another broadcast tonight. If I do, it probably will not be on this painting, but I've got a lot of other projects. Thank you. If you enjoy this, subscribe. If you don't like this, sayonara. See ya. Just as I usually say, let's just keep that between you and me. But if you do like it, please subscribe, comment, share. All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your... Oh, wait. Any other comments? Yeah, D. Williams, I'd leave for work.